Yeah, normally I just like roll into the conversation, just edit into it, but this is a different episode for us because Ryan and Adam are not here. And today I'm joined by Chris and John of the Pink Smoke.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for getting rid of, the dead weight. This is a lean episode. It's just the leanest cut possible, and we don't need those other guys. We got the leanest cut.
Just goes to show that this movie still scares people. They're not willing to talk about it.
Oh my God, it's been an accident? Is my wife hurt?
She was supposed to arrive last night and never showed up.
Hi.
Come on, come in the house. I'll bet you're hungry. Oh my God.
Georgina has it in her head, but you are her sister.
I really need to see your husband, okay?
Roy's working on your car.
Don't lock me in this room. I'll do anything you want, but you gotta let me out. I gotta see my little girl. Just let me out of this house!
Got your trace back on your suspected family slayer.
Was it a woman with a little child, a little girl?
Mr. Scudder told her to take Old Highway 50.
What makes you think you're going to find your wife and your daughter around my dirty old garage?
So yeah, you guys picked the movie out, The Maddening, 1995, directed by Danny Huston, a movie which I had never heard of, even though that was the golden era of me watching the Movie Channel, Showtime, HBO all night, just watching every stupid, thriller, horror movie, anything with a hint of violence or nudity I would watch, but this movie completely slipped my radar. I'm curious how you guys found it. How did you see it the first time?
John Cribbs is the world's biggest Mia Sara fan and is a Mia Sara completist, and then he recommended it to me. Is that a fair description, John?
It's true. I'm a big fan of Time Cop's Mia Sara.
Mia Sara of Time Cop Boo-Variety.
Yeah, she's in Legend. That's her first movie. She's in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is like her iconic role. Not to say Time Cop isn't, iconic.
It's the masterpiece.
Yeah, I mean, 85, 86 is her heyday. I think it's a very limited window to describe as Mia Sara's time at the top.
She was also in a Stuart Gordon TV film. People don't remember that.
Which one? The on Showtime? Like a Masters of Horror?
Something. No, it wasn't Masters of Horror, but it was on HBO or something, or Showtime maybe. It's called, it has a very generic title to it. I wanted to say Daughter of Darkness, but obviously that's not correct. Something of Darkness, though. It's a very generic title. But it does have Anthony Perkins.
All right, that sounds pretty good. I mean, I am a big Stuart Gordon fan. I mean, even his weakest movies are usually better than... I mean, I'm assuming it's better than The Maddening. Not to say I don't love The Maddening, and I know you two are big fans, and I don't want to insult you, but I'd have to say this is the worst movie I've ever watched for the podcast. One of the worst movies I've ever seen. But there's a lot.
Here's the thing.
Words like better, worse, don't apply to The Maddening, in my opinion.
This is also, we are on a religious mission right now, and we are either going to convert you or annihilate you. And you need to understand that at the top, that you will be burned alive in the holy light of the maddening. And this is a warning to your listeners as well, that this is not really a negotiable thing. It's an article of faith. So we're going to put it out there in those terms.
Yeah, I'm sure that's how Danny Huston ran the first production meeting. Because I feel like Danny Huston's the key to understanding this movie because...
No, Andrew Niedermeyer, but go on.
Okay. I'm not familiar with Andrew Niedermeyer. I did see...
Niederman. What did I even say? Yeah.
Yeah, you have the
author
book.
of Playmates.
You have the novel.
The Maddening is based on. I do. I have it right here in my hand.
I love the cover. I saw it on eBay as I was checking out. I was like, who wrote this fucking shit? But I'm assuming the novel has to be better than this fucking movie. There's no way.
No, that's an incorrect assumption. Okay, let me lay out what this film is at the start so your audience isn't too lost, because I'm assuming people aren't going to understand what it is, right?
Yeah.
And what this movie is, what makes it so great is that it is V.C. Andrews for dudes. And now, John, what do you got to do if you're going to make something more appropriate for dudes? You're going to take VC Andrews. You're going to make it for dudes. What do you got to do?
You got to get Burt Reynolds.
You put Burt Reynolds in it. That is exactly what you fucking do to make it VC Andrews for dudes. And the VC Andrew for dudes subgenre might only be this movie. This might be the only one in existence. And as you know, John and I are also massive fans of hearing about VC Andrews novels, but not reading them. So this is exactly what we both needed in our life.
Well, explain the VC Andrews connection to Andrew Niederman, because he has a connection, right?
Absolutely. Yes. What happens is VC Andrews writes 6 or 7 books. They're all huge bestsellers. They're, of course, Flowers in the Attic and sequels to that. And My Sweet Audrina is one of her famous books. And then she gets sick and is going to die. And so they hire Andrew Niederman. And the details of this are fascinating. They just tell him, just keep writing VC Andrews books for the rest of your career. That's not going to be a problem, right? And his response is not, that's a really weird thing for you to ask me. His response is, sure.
But he adapted her Flowers in the Attic as a theatrical play, right? A stage show.
Oh, I don't know if that's how it got started. That would make sense. But
he had the same agent as her. And when she was dying and getting ill, the agent sort of cut her off from her family and worked out a deal with her without her permission, even though she was supposedly not in a state where it is possible or should have been making these kind of decisions. And she started giving interviews where she said she had thousands of pages of semi-finished ideas and unfinished novels that now were going to continue on and continue being published even after she had died, that this work was going to be worked up. And it seems like that's not true, that Niederman just sort of started wholesale with this agent writing this shit.
And this is a common thing with authors and artists. Like, I know Peter Max apparently is like blind, and apparently there is like he's that pop artist who did the Love logo in Philadelphia, or did all those like awful kind of Andy Warhol looking paintings. But he has like, his son has an army of hobos who just churn out Peter Max paintings, and then Peter Max walks in blind and just signs them Max. And then they sell them. So
that's a good example. Going all the way back to the Oz series, L. Frank Baum only wrote half of those, and then another woman came in and took over and published them, obviously under the name L. Frank Baum.
Yes.
So it's been in practice for quite a while.
And then what would you say are the keystones or the hallmarks of like a VC Andrews novel? Because I only know Flowers in the Attic. Like, I've never seen the movie. I never read the novel. It's kind of beyond my time.
They're genuinely unpleasant and depraved and gothic type stories that pretend they're for teenage girls and are like
older people, right? This has to be for an older audience. I get the feeling.
The like perfect age to get into VC Andrews is when you're like 15. That's like the perfect age, even though they're full of like rape and incest and pedophilia and depravity. They sort of pretend like they're regular thrillers, but they're as depraved as, as a necromantic or something. They are just really genuinely gross and weird and overheated, and they somehow end up getting marketed as YA novels.
Right.
And very interior as well as another thing. Like Flowers in the Attic is the story of children who are literally locked into an attic until they die. Like they're trying to get rid of them to claim an inheritance. So The Maddening obviously is a very interior film as well. This weird, fucked up family living in this house, trying to maintain some kind of a normalcy when their situation is more than completely abnormal.
The VC Andrews novels are about like somebody trapped in a house and they have brittle bone disease.
Right.
That's what a VC Andrews story is like.
And the movie, I feel the movie the closest to Maddening, like the movie it feels closest to is Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
Yeah, no comparison.
But
Spider Baby, I would say, but that's a good
Spider Baby.
Yeah. But like, though that's this is like a late 60s kind of thing, like a mid 60s kind of like trend that was going on.
She's writing, I would say, I think of her as being a very 70s type of author.
70s.
She has, I would compare it to when they were even making TV movies like The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane. There was this weird era where there were things getting rated G and PG, like Food of the Gods or something, that you watch and you're like, who the fuck thought this was appropriate for like family TV daytime type audiences? And she belongs to that sort of world of the 70s, like really depraved stuff sort of getting mainstreamified in a way that it's not even now, you know.
In the 1970s, it's very common to have rape as a subplot in a PG rated movie. Like Billy Jack has a rape scene.
Yeah.
It's like they just always go there. It just is constantly on the table. A TV movie, an ABC TV movie, it would be on the table. It's just
part of that is that the cultural shift where the redefinition of rape going from being a property crime where a woman's body is the property being damaged to a crime of consent really happens in earnest in the 60s. So the 70s is really the first time when rape is understood as it is in a modern context, and it does seep into popular culture, those depictions of it, because it's this new definition of it, this culturally new definition where it's a violation of feminine, of woman's autonomy, and male too, although the redefinition really occurs through the feminist groups in the 60s, which is all a good
Charles
thing.
Bronson's honor.
Yeah. Yes. Well, his family is getting damaged. That he belongs to the old school. This is a violation of the family unit. This is a crime against chastity. I would say that Bronson's stuff belongs to the old definition, you know, when it was, you know, it's sort of just the history of the definition of rape goes from it's a property crime, right, committed against the head of the household, to it's a crime against chastity itself, which is committed against the state and why the state should be involved, to it's a crime committed against women themselves, and it's a violation of consent and autonomy. And in the 70s, it's getting explored, and I think that people haven't said, wait a second, this shouldn't be in kids' films. You know, wait a second, this is a really fraught thing. I think people are very casually exploring the new definition because they don't understand the weight of trauma that it holds under that definition, you know?
Right. And there's also a very, it's not like the 80s where kids' films become their own business. Kids' movies were often intertwined with exploitation movies anyway. Like a movie like The Doberman Gang, which is a kids movie, kind of feels like an exploitation movie. Or like what's the one with the little people robbing gang that's an AIP movie where they're
I don't know.
They're all little people. It's like and they're robbing banks.
Are you sure you're still not thinking of The Daring Dobermans?
The world-renowned little cigars. Give me the ether. Who the hell are you anyway? I'm Miss Tits and Ass. I don't know what you guys use for a pillow, but I find these to be the greatest.
I am not familiar with that.
But that's the kind of shit they would make. It was like, we're going to get a bunch of little people. They're going to rob banks. It's for kids.
Yeah.
It's like, this is not a movie for kids. This is just exploitation.
Yes. Yeah. And VC Andrews is from that mindset, that sort of era of it would be so outlandish to put these books in the hands of young adults these days. It would be she would get canceled. She'd get completely canceled. Wokeism gone awry. No, it wouldn't even be on the table, but it was sort of pervasive. And, you know, I, as a kid, definitely knew it's sort of a rite of passage. All of the girls around middle school age would get a hold of these books and like pass them amongst each other, and they'd tell you about them and you'd be like, what the fuck? You know, that's the VC Andrews experience is a 14-year-old girl telling you about it and you being like, what the fuck? What is this?
The perspective, though, of a VC Andrews protagonist is that she's kind of she's growing as a woman, but like in this really traumatizing, fucked up environment. And like you said, turning that into a male version of it kind of harks back to that idea of rape being, you know, a crime against someone's property, because here we have to have the damsel in distress in the dungeon, and the knight has to show up and save everybody. You know, it kind of has to take that form.
Right. And like you said, the way they made it male centric was to cast Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
To make this a Burt Reynolds movie. Now, Burt Reynolds.
Well, they also got Josh Mostel, which makes it pretty dude centric too, as the white knight who comes in his Hawaiian shirt, his pastel.
Okay, Josh Mostel is Zero Mostel's son, correct?
Yeah. This is sorry, go on.
Yeah, and Zero Mostel's in the producers as the sidekick. He's the funny.
He's the main guy.
He's the main guy.
Yeah.
And then Josh Mostel plays a cop, a detective.
Yeah. For listeners who don't know, Josh Mostel is most famous as the principal in Billy Madison. If you recognize him, you'll recognize him as the secret masked wrestler from Billy Madison.
He's also in City Slickers as one of the Ben and Jerry's kind of guys.
Yeah.
And also in this movie is Angie Dickinson, who I think if you get Burt Reynolds, you get a discount on Angie Dickinson. I think that's kind of like a 2-for-1.
I think she was just hanging out at Bert's house at the time, right? Probably. And you just turned to her and, hey, you want to do this movie with me? Sure, Bert, whatever you want.
She actually,
on Bert's Florida property, but go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
No, I heard this is off the record from somebody familiar with the situation, that she did this movie because she was like working through trauma with her own daughter, who was severely disabled when she was born and had problems her whole life. And her daughter actually eventually killed herself. Right. And that like something about this like spoke to her as a script, that it wasn't like a paycheck thing. She like came out of semi-retirement because it like got it's hooks in her, which is fucking horrifying to think about.
Jesus, I was going to make a joke about how she read the script and thought it was brilliant, but it turns out it's true.
See, the other thing I feel about this movie is that,
well, it's more like she read the script and was like, I too want to murder my child, which is fucking horrifying to think about.
Well, I mean, she's an actress. She's got a schedule, having a disabled child was probably very difficult for her.
Yeah.
So
she apparently, by all accounts, she actually loved her daughter and was incredibly supportive of her daughter. Just for the record.
It's Angie Dickinson. She's a queen. Okay.
Yes.
But I feel like a big element of this movie is it's like actors gone amok. And that usually happens when an actor directs a movie. And it's weird with Danny Huston because he wasn't much of an actor at this time. He was a director. Like he made what, Mr. North? He made
Becoming Colette with Matilda May, the great Matilda May.
He went to film school in England, right? He's his father is one of the great directors in movie history.
Yeah, his father's John Huston. His half-sister is Angelica Huston, just for people who aren't aware.
Yeah, so this movie definitely, I feel like this is his last big hurrah. And after that, he kind of starts showing up as a character actor. And then his big breakthrough is Ivan's Ecstasy, the Bernard Rose movie. And Ivan's Ecstasy got amazing reviews when it came out. People were saying, like, you have to see this Danny Huston performance. This is an amazing film. It's from the director of Candyman and A More Beloved, and it's low budget. It's shot on mini DV. Peter Weller's cool. This is like the real story of Hollywood. And I actually bought it on an import DVD because it had so much hype.
Yeah.
And what do you guys think of that movie? It's
fine. I like Bernard Rose in general. I think it's fine. Marcus Penn is always trying to push that one on me. That's a Marcus Penn favorite, Ivan's Ecstasy. And I'm always like, quit trying to sell me on this.
It got a lot of hype. And the thing is, Danny Huston, after that movie, became a very in-demand character actor, right? Like he's now in everything. He's in TV shows. He's in Wonder Woman. He's in big budget movies, low budget.
Yeah, yes. He did 30 Days of Night. He's always said, I set off to be a director and accidentally became an actor. It's like his quote on the subject.
Because he's a naturally charismatic actor in person. He just seems to play this devilishly charming type of guy very well. He can kind of do it in his sleep.
Yeah.
But as a director, he seems to have no idea what he's doing. I mean, this.
Well, have you seen his other movies?
I haven't seen Mr. North, but I have a feeling they're at least better than this one. I have a feeling this movie is tension between him and Burt Reynolds, and him kind of going like, "What did I get into? I'm just letting. This is just a boat going down the river." And I feel like this is one of those movies where he didn't even edit it. Like, I feel like this is like a low budget kind of movie where the director is just, it's kind of half as hard as into it, but I think everybody's going nuts when I watch this. I feel like everybody's overacting.
It's definitely a movie where it feels like nobody feels like somebody's in control of this, which is one of its best qualities to me, is it doesn't feel like anyone's in charge of it, even just to when it cuts between the two stories. So the story of the movie is Mia Sara and her daughter are angry at her husband, played by Brian Wimmer, because he works too hard. He missed the first day of kindergarten. So she's going to go stay with her sister. She goes to a gas station run by a metalhead and Burt Reynolds. And Burt Reynolds like, why don't you take this shortcut to your sister's house that presumably you've driven to 1 billion times down here in Florida? She takes the shortcut. Her car breaks down because Burt Reynolds, he's tampered with it at the gas station. He picks her up and he's like, hey, my house is right up the street. Come stay with me. And then she becomes imprisoned in this house with Angie Dickinson, who's Burt Reynolds' wife, their daughter, who's a real mean little girl. And they end up imprisoned in this house. And the parallel story is Josh Mostel as a cop who's investigating the disappearances, and the sister of Mia Sara and her husband sort of interacting with the cop, and Brian Wimmer as the husband. And those two, that subplot feels like it was filmed on a different planet than the rest of the movie. Everything about it, the color schemes, the blocking, the locations. To me, I agree with you. It feels like who was making any decisions on this, because the different aspects of these movies, if you told me, like you're saying, that he didn't edit it, I would believe it. If you told me he didn't film any of that subplot and it was added later, I would believe it, because it's so different than the rest of the film.
And that's a common occurrence of straight to video movies. And I think this was maybe had a tepid theatrical release plan.
No way.
But
ETV all the way.
Yeah, because Burt Reynolds is
released,
in a movie.
I think, 2 years after they shot it too. So.
Yeah, Burt Reynolds is not a movie star at this point. This is like where you go after Cop and a Half. This is like ebb tide of his career. This is the movie that signals you are not a movie star anymore. You don't matter. So it wasn't getting put out for this reason. This is even after like Evening Shade got canceled, I think.
Yeah, and this is Trimark, which is a kind of logo you would see when you watch an extremely shitty DVD at your dad's house or something in the 90s, like, or on cable, it'll just have a big Trimark logo, and you know, it could be good, it could be bad, but it's probably not going to be great, or it's not going to be, I don't know. It's not going to be, like, it's not going to win Best Picture. It's not going to even be nominated for anything.
Unless it's The Maddening.
Yes. In which case,
movie where one thing you haven't mentioned in the plot, Burt Reynolds is suicidally guilty over murdering his baby boy.
Right. And is this the first time he's played a villain?
I don't know enough about Burt Reynolds, honestly, to tell you.
Is Roy Scudder the villain? Is Roy Scudder the villain is the first question we need to ask about this film.
Rape against Mia Sara.
Yes, but he's very sad. He also murders his baby in the crib because it's given him problems. I just think you're not willing to understand Roy Scudder in the own terms that he understands the universe. Again, I think that you're too caught up in good and bad to be thinking about this movie properly. I think understanding Roy Scudder goes to the Nietzschean level of beyond good and evil, is what I think when discussing what happens.
Well, my mind's open.
Well, the only thing you need to understand about Roy Scudder is he's got a cock-blocking ghost dad hanging out in the house, played by the great William Hickey.
Well, what you waiting for, boy? Get it to her. Shut up!
Turbo Man.
She's real pretty, Roy. Real soft, pretty.
Go away, old man.
What's the matter? Are you afraid you'll make another idiot, baby? Take her. You'll never get another chance like this. Georgina doesn't want you.
I first saw William Hickey in Baby Talk, one of the shittiest sitcoms ever made. It was when Look Who's Talking came out.
Talk, sure.
When Look Who's Talking came out, not only was there a Look Who's Talking sitcom, there was a copycat sitcom called Baby Talk. And one of them, George Clooney's in. I think it's Baby Talk. Baby Talk was so awful that the entire cast changed the second season. And even as a child of 6 or 7 years old, I knew I was watching complete garbage.
That's funny. He's also in The Producers with Zero Mostel. I just realized Josh Mostel's father.
Of course.
He's the first thing I saw him in was Wings. That's what I remember seeing.
The sitcom.
The sitcom Wings. Yeah. Is that he played you know what I love about William Hickey is in 1978, he's in Mikey and Nicky playing an old ancient guy. His entire career, he was only like in his 60s when he died. You would think he was like 80 or something, but he played the ancient old guy.
Right. And we have
a million things.
He's also in Nightmare Before Christmas. That's probably his most well-known thing for like younger
Christmas Vacation, but yes. Something. Yeah.
That voice. You know that voice. It's William Hickey. He plays a very obvious ghost. It's not a ghost, or it's a figment of Burt Reynolds' imagination.
It's definitely a ghost because after Roy Scudder dies at the end, spoiler everybody, we still see him in the window. He's definitely a ghost.
Right. You're right, because
we put that to rest.
If he was a figment of his imagination and Burt Reynolds, spoiler alert, dies at the end and he's in the window, whose hallucination is that? A dead person's?
It's a ghost.
Exactly.
It's a literal ghost.
Like I was saying, like Brown Bunny, it's a secret ghost movie.
It's a ghost ad.
Right.
It's a ghost ad. We got another ghost ad.
Cock-blocking ghost ad is what I'm saying.
So for me, there's so many awful scenes in this movie, but the scene that really cemented like immediately, like this, it's like when you watch a movie, it's like, all right, it's like going on a road trip. It's like, all right, everybody's put your seatbelt on, put your
nothing
on.
makes a trip better than a big old moon pie.
I love how he says it like a threat. Nothing better than a big old moon pie. And then later in the swamp, he says, ain't nothing like stepping on a custard pie.
Ma'am, this is Mr. Scudder. He owns the station.
Nice car. Very rare. Want to sell it?
No. This was my father's.
Oh. Sentimental about your father? Me too.
Mommy, I'm hungry.
Now look here, Truman. Two little dolls. I bet you one of them talks. What's your name, honey?
Samantha.
Samantha. That's a pretty name. What we got in there for Samantha to eat?
Yes, sir. Got some moon pie, some Tijuana Red Hots, a sticky caramel chunky cluster chocolate covered nougat bar.
You know something, honey? Nothing makes a trip better than a big old moon pie.
Anyway.
His accent.
Threats.
Well, yeah, Burt Reynolds' accent is terrible, but Burt Reynolds is also the best thing about the movie, right? He's the most charismatic person in the movie.
He's a movie star. He's a fucking movie star. You watch him and he's the only one who should be a movie star of all of these people, Angie Dickinson included.
And Mia Sara is actually pretty good in it. Like, it's nice to see her try or do something different. Like, she's trying to be an actress.
Yeah.
She wants this to work. I think she was naive and thinking like, well, maybe this might be good. Like maybe this Burt Reynolds
I
movie.
think by 95, Mia Sara is taking whatever job is offered to her. I don't think she's saying, I don't know. Let me see the script for the Maddening first before I say yes or no.
But it's the scene that really sticks out to me that this movie is going to be bad is when we see her sister and her sister's husband upside down in exercise equipment. After the husband is unable to find her, he calls the sister and goes like, where is she? And the husband answers the phone. He's upside down, stretching. And he goes, you answer it. And then hands the phone to the sister. And the sister's upside down and is just like, of course she's finally leaving you. You're a terrible husband.
Look,
you guys seem to have all the lines memorized. Phil,
the new age bozos.
Yeah, the Brian Wimmer stuff, who plays the husband. Brian Wimmer, is that how you say it? John, you're the world's. You just did that video with Brian Sauer on Under the Boardwalk. You're the world's biggest Brian Wimmer expert at this point.
Apparently not, since I didn't even remember he was in that movie.
Brian Wimmer and that subplot, that stuff is terrible until Josh Mostel shows up. But Brian Wimmer is so bad in this film. He is so incapable of being an actor that he actually, his scenes remind me of like a full motion Sega CD video game.
I might have to go away again soon.
What?
I might have to go away in a couple of days.
What?
Well,
David. Honey. I can't believe that I'm hearing this. You've just been away for 2 weeks. You're gonna turn around and leave again?
why don't you and Samantha come with me to Texas? There we go.
Come with you to Texas?
Yeah.
How can I go to Texas? Have you seen this house? It's totally upside down.
Yeah.
What about Samantha, Dave? She just started kindergarten. She learned how to spell dinosaur today.
Sweetheart, this is a new account, and it is extremely important. It's for my new boss, all right?
Well, when are you going to tell me about it? After you got me in the sack.
Hey, now that's not nice.
Son of a bitch,
Hey!
David.
Hey!
Bar.
Hey! I am busting my ass to keep this job, all right? They fired a third of the goddamn staff, and you know that.
Let go of me.
Cassie, this is for my new boss, and when she says go, I go.
They remind
Yes.
you know what I'm talking
Yes,
about?
exactly.
He seems like he's in like one of those
Night Watch.
Sega CD. Yeah, exactly. Or not that, like Isle of the Dead.
Night Trap.
Exactly.
Night Trap, that's
Cowboy McCree.
Exactly.
The aesthetic of those games is very similar to the aesthetic of LA theater. And LA theater is truly terrible. And it's some of the most amateurish acting you'll ever see. I've seen a few plays in LA, and tonally it's bizarre. These are like psychotic plays, like with psychotic actors doing things where they can't even eat food properly. They can't order in a restaurant. They can't have natural conversations. It's like one person's way up here acting completely over the top. Another guy is just doing his thing. He's leaning down. He's
I'm
being a wannabe James Dean. It's just like a cacophony of acting. And I feel like Danny Huston as a director just wanted every actor to do their own thing as much as possible and just go with it, because he doesn't want to be the boss. He just wants just do your thing.
I'll tell you, the level of acting though, for me, makes me think of a Tales from the Crypt episode more than anything. Brian Wimmer and Sarah and Mia Sara are just like the two leads they would have in a classic Tales from the Crypt episode.
Yeah, but
if they had done a movie version, of like the supernatural ones that they ended up doing, they did a straight from the TV show adaptation into a movie. It would be something like The Maddening.
Tales from the Crypt could do this whole story in 20 minutes, have the fight at the beginning. Mia Sara takes off. The cop, the sister, the investigation, the 3 beats of the gas station. Like, have you seen?
You're starting to get on the right wavelength. Now think, I want a Tales from the Crypt episode extended to unnecessary and impossible length. That's the vibe you've got to be on for this. Think of it as if they took your least favorite Tales from the Crypt episode and stretched it as far as it would go. And in the spaces, as it pulls into stretched out putty string, they inserted Burt Reynolds as Roy Scudder. Now you're on the right page for this movie.
And we have to shout out one of the best Tales from the Crypt episodes, stars William Hickey, directed by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, yeah.
That's a classic.
The body changing episode. You know what they would need to do, though, to make it a full movie? They'd have to do a little patenting, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but like EC Comics would just crush the Maddening. I mean, those guys,
I don't know. I think I mean, I certainly love EC Comics. This is trying to go off into a different area than the EC Comics. The EC Comics solutions to the script in this film are the easy, obvious solutions. There's a lot of movies in the EC Comics knockoff genre, either directly or now there's an entire generation of people trying to do their own cheeseball, low budget horror films that go too far. This movie, by staying in VC Andrews' territory, is genuinely unpleasant, genuinely indefensible, which I think there's something special about that in the era of sort of prefab harmless cult material. This movie has a shot of a dead, decomposing baby in it that is not played as a jump scare, that is not played for laughs. That's just like, there's that baby he murdered, you know? And that's truly remarkable. It's truly a crazy thing to see.
I feel like the things that hold this movie back are the basic mechanics of thrillers, which is the cop investigation, the little clues the husband would find to reach his way to
stuff. All that stuff is as good as anything in Psycho that's not set at the Bates Motel. I'm serious.
I agree.
All the stuff that nobody gives a shit about in that movie, it's as good as the stuff that nobody gives a shit about in The Maddening.
So you're saying The Maddening is the same level as Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho?
Yes, and let me throw this. Wait, let me throw this out there. This screenplay was written by Henry Slezar, who was Hitchcock's main ancillary guy. He wrote the majority of Hitchcock's mystery magazine stories. He edited all of the Hitchcock short story collections that were curated by Hitchcock, and he wrote almost all of the episodes for Hitchcock's TV show. This movie is incredibly Hitchcockian, and I think John, just by accident, unless he was setting me up to hammer it home, knows that this guy has put all of the stupid bullshit that people don't care about in Hitchcock movies into this movies, because he knows they're a thriller. He knows they're just those kind of machinations to move it from point A to point B, and that's not what anybody cares about anyway. This is literally, I don't think it's better than Psycho, but I agree with John that the bullshit in this movie is exactly like the bullshit Psycho that nobody cares about. That's 66% of its running time, because it's the same guy who wrote it all. He had the Hitchcock formula down and he wrote that bullshit, and nobody does a better. When Hitchcock was not being Hitchcock and he wanted to slap, I'm the big fat scare maestro, I approve this on something, he would have Henry Slezar write it, and Henry Slezar wrote The Maddening. So there you go.
Did you at least find the stuff in the house and everything to do with Roy Scudder tense? And did you not feel like a tension in the film, at least?
No, I felt...
No, really?
So for me, I'm a much more visually oriented movie watcher.
Yeah.
Than from a writer's perspective or an actor's perspective. Like, I'm just looking at the set, and I'm looking at the windows, and I'm seeing blue light, and I'm seeing blue light flash inside a house with lights on, and I'm seeing shadows coming from nowhere, and everything
psychological nightmares. Are you not a Giallo fan?
I am a big fan of Argento and Suspiria and movies of that ilk.
Correct answer. You're not a Giallo fan. You like Argento. That's the correct answer to that question.
Look, I've seen a Sergio Martino movie or two. I've seen
we'll talk about worse than Psycho. There you go.
Let's see.
John, are we on the record? Giallo sucks. Waste of a genre. Stop trying to force it on me. It's got one good director. He's named Dario Argento. Don't even try and sell me on Fulci, which is 3 minutes of interest and just the most incompetent garbage you've ever seen in your life. If you like Lucio Fulci, you will love The Maddening, because it's better than any movie Lucio Fulci has ever made.
New York Ripper is better than The Maddening.
New York Ripper and Don't Torture a Duckling probably are, but yes. I defy you to watch House by the Cemetery or let alone one of his non-giallo.
House by the Cemetery is pretty brutal. I mean, the guy in the basement is
even Zombie sucks apart from one scene.
It's a great scene though.
It is a great scene.
They're in one room and they're just killing zombies who are walking very slow. It's a very
No.
Not talking about the shark scene?
The
Shark
shark scene?
versus zombie versus topless scuba diver. Everybody talks about shark versus zombie. They forget that it's also topless scuba diver in that scene.
There's two great scenes in Zombie. But
I don't need to see slow walking zombies get killed. I've been bored before.
Okay, you know what movie is similar to this? Have you seen Burial Ground?
On the record, The Maddening better than Hitchcock and Fulci. On the record. We're going on the record.
The kings of thrillers.
Kings of snooze. Get these guys out of my face.
Have you seen Burial Ground?
Yeah.
That's very similar to The Maddening with the child played by the adult. See, I think if The Maddening had a child in a wig, or an adult actor playing like a little person in a wig playing one of the children in this movie, that could have really kicked it up a notch for me. You
want it to be weirder. You want it to be more strikingly strange. And I would say that for the
I want it to be exploitation.
It's not. It's not exploitation. It's
right.
It's that V.C. Andrews young adult.
It's drama.
Yeah,
it's gothic. It's Southern Gothic. It's more like Night of the Hunter. When the kids are running around at night, backlit, it is right out of Night of the Hunter.
Now we're talking.
It's fairy tale trauma,
which is also directed by an actor.
Yep.
Famously.
Good point. An actor who was not meant to be a director in general for his career. I think it's exploitation enough that, the little girl who plays Mia Sara's daughter never was in a movie again after acting in this movie where she gets punched by Burt Reynolds and subjected to all kinds of awful things. It's like, is this what acting is supposed to be?
That scene where she has her face painted up by the other girl and is
in her underwear.
Yeah, horrifying. Completely horrifying.
And has a noose around her neck. It's very upsetting. This is what I'm talking about. This is tense stuff.
No, it's trauma. It's a traumatizing movie in a lot of ways.
And there's a stilted matter-of-factness to it that takes any smirking out of it in a way that it's not trying to be weird, and it's not even trying to shock you. It's a movie that's like when you find out what your weird neighbors are up to in real life.
Because it also doesn't have a director's eye like Hitchcock, because you're always seeing the characters from their own perspective, which is justified. I feel like Burt Reynolds is constantly justifying his actions. Angie Dickinson is justifying her actions. Like the villains in the movies or the misunderstood villains they're being people.
They're absolutely villains. That was a bit of a joking before. Let me be on the record.
Yeah. But they're
takes apart that T-bird. That's a crime.
There's empathy with them. Whereas like an Argento movie or a Hitchcock movie, it's like they're locking the door. Then the person's walking up to the door. Like they're trying to, actually there is a door scene with an unlocking.
Mia Sara is trying to unhinge the door with
which is one of the more horrifying scenes because her thumb nail pops off and it's really gross. It's really fucked up.
Yeah. And that reminds me of the Argento thing where he talks about how you always have people get cut with like glass or razor blades, things
or burn themselves.
Yeah, things that people in the audience have experienced, so they know what the pain feels like. So we've all kind of popped a nail or hurt a nail in some way. So seeing that the pain is more palpable in that scene, especially because she breaks her nail trying to get the door hinge out. We've all fucked up a nail trying to pry something out using the nail. We know exactly what that feels like.
Yeah, and at this point in the movie, Mia Sara is like locked in the house. She's wandering, trying to get to her daughter. It's around this time that Burt Reynolds finds her and rapes her. Like I kind of feel
it's a little ambiguous in the movie. He chains her to the bed and is going to rape her, but then starts having visions of William Hickey.
Yes.
So again, this cock-blocking ghost dad.
I feel like it's in the script and they did it.
In the book, he does. In the book,
wait, guys. This scene is exactly like the scene in Viridiana, where Fernando Rey has Sylvia Pinell dress up in the wedding dress of his deceased wife, lays her down in bed, takes her shirts off, and then it cuts away right as he's about to rape her. And then the next day you hear, he says, I offended you in thought only. I offended you in thought, but you don't know what actually happens. I think if Boonwell had a chance, he would have intercut a ghost William Hickey in there, kind of, screwing things up. But it's exactly like the scene from Viridiana. There's no denying it.
He could.
With you on that.
He definitely would direct the shit out of this movie if he had, but he could direct the shit out of any script, honestly. But one thing I felt like with Burt Reynolds at this time, knowing him and like on the set of Boogie Nights, having that tension, I feel like he would refuse to commit rape on screen. I feel like he would put his foot down and say, like, I know it's in the script. I know I said I would do the script, but Danny, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm just not going to do that.
I mean, to me, it seemed to be another case of he's going to do it and gets interrupted by William Hickey, like he's constantly getting interrupted by William Hickey. So it's probably explained to Burt that way of, you're not going to actually do it because Ghost Dad is there to humiliate you. And so he agrees to do it. I mean, what the fuck do I know about the shooting of this movie? I don't want to know. I just want to experience it. I want to ingest it through my eyeballs. I don't want to overanalyze it.
In terms of whether or not there was any actual rape and how influenced he was by Boonwell making this film, you'd have to ask Danny Huston, obviously.
I bet he was. I mean, he went to a pretty big film school.
Have you seen, we didn't talk about it. Have you seen Mr. North? John, did you see Mr. North ever?
I haven't. I know it was supposed to be John Huston's last movie, but he fell ill before he was able to make it. I've never seen it, though.
It's based on Thornton Wilder, and it's this completely Looney Tunes whimsicomedy starring Anthony Edwards at the height of his power, no less. And it's
around Miracle Mile time, right?
Yes. And it's really, he like has this ability where he electrical shocks people back to health. And that's the plot of the movie. It's like something that like,
it's a period movie, right?
Yes.
Trying to hide that on the video, I remember, made it look like it was a modern movie.
It feels like somebody convinced them they could do a Tim Burton film, is what it feels like in some way. But then it's the guy who made The Maddening. And it suffers from a similar feeling like whose idea was this? Which I feel like when you watch The Maddening, you look at every single person involved and you go, whose idea was this? Was it Andrew Niederman can't be the driving force of getting this movie made? Whose idea was it to do this? Was it Burt Reynolds? Did he see the script? Was Mia Sara somehow involved? Was she talking to her husband, Jim Henson's son? And he was like, do this.
At the time, it was Sean Connery's son.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right.
So this is funny about Mia Sara. Watching this, I was like, okay, I bet after this, she kind of stopped acting and married an extremely rich person. And I looked up who she married, and it was a little while after this movie, but she did marry Brian Henson, Jim Henson's son, who apparently has a net worth of $150 million, is the heir to the Henson company. So
yeah,
she's doing all right. And I'm glad because she's Ferris Bueller's girlfriend. She should have a cool, rich husband.
Ferris Bueller is Simone's boyfriend, if you ask me.
All right. They were not
to me, she'll always be Time Cop's girl. Lieutenant John Time Cop.
Time Cop is Mia Sara's boyfriend.
It's around this. This is like the same time as that movie. I think they both are 95, but
I think you're right. That's mid-90s. But again, this one was shot, I think, in 93 and for whatever reason shelved for 2 years before it actually got released.
I feel like this is a bad time for horror movies and genre movies. They don't really have, they're not being released theatrically anymore. I mean, horror.
And if they do, like John Carpenter's films at the time, they're in there for a week and then they're gone, but just short runs and then nobody goes to see them.
They kind of don't know what to do after the trend of the Freddy and Jason sequel kind of thing. They don't know where to take it anymore. They don't know what's scary anymore. And it's like, until Scream makes a shit ton of money, they don't have a business model to follow. So
that's a good
And then
assessment. Yeah.
I mean, they do. It's actually, this movie actually sort of fits in with, because remember that in the late 90s, you also had hits with I Know What You Did Last Summer and Killing Mrs. Tingle, if that was a hit or not.
Yes.
But that were also looking towards the PG-13 horror movies, Valentine, that were more almost that they were these young adult books, YA novels taken and turned into horror films, theoretically
Yes.
for adults, for horror audiences. And that this fits into that trend from that era of almost young YA horror is how you could almost describe it.
Also,
Yeah,
just
but-
trying, the Stephen King success, trying to make VC Andrews and people like Andrew Niederman the next Stephen King, the next gold mine.
Yeah, you have Dean Koontz with Hideaway around the same time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, I also feel like there's some Silence of the Lambs influence on this. Like a woman trapped in a house, being held prisoner, a lot of psychological horror. That was kind of like the best horror in the early 90s probably were psychological horror films.
Yeah, another movie.
Candyman.
Another one that this movie would be a great pairing with would be Hider in the House. Do you know that one? The Gary Busey movie?
I'm aware of it. I haven't seen it, but yeah, that's that is similar. It's like a guy whose career is a little rocky is doing like a straight to video kind of horror movie.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, the girl from that movie, the victimized girl, plays the evil daughter in the Maddening. So they even have that connection with each other. That one, she was the good girl. This one, she's the bad girl.
If there's another thing I feel like that's important to the Maddening, which is it takes place in Tampa.
Yes.
And that's Burt Reynolds' home turf, right? Like Cop and a Half is shot in Tampa, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of this was shot on his property, on his
yes.
It was his West
Jupiter
ranch, which was previously owned by Al Capone. So in Josh Trank's Capone, when he's like shitting his pants and going crazy, that's where he was at that time in West Jupiter. So it's maybe got a little bit of that Capone pants pooping craziness involved as well.
And watch The Maddening and reimagine Josh Trank's Capone happening on this set and on this film. That's one thing that I was watching it when I was thinking about this time, because John told me that it was Al Capone's former house. Anytime you see like the real houses of people, you're like, that place fucking sucks. Like my parents' house is nicer than that.
Of course.
Like why Capone lived here? That's garbage. Like I can't believe that Burt Reynolds was living on this crummy, like just totally unimpressive West Jupiter ranch.
Well, he blew his money. Also, he's getting divorced from Lonnie Anderson at the time. That's very expensive for him. So this is a paycheck movie, and this is definitely. This is just a lot of people taking the money and running and doing whatever shtick they kind of feel.
His heart
I feel
is
like
more in it.
They're bleeding into this movie. They cut their veins and they're bleeding into this film.
I feel like Burt Reynolds is giving it his all in a way that if you look at the other films from the same era, which are Cop and a Half type bullshit, it's weird how intense and invested he is in it. I feel like somebody did convince him he was making Cape Fear, which is like a neighbor to Night of the Hunter, that you're going to be going around in the swamp hunting somebody down that he thinks in the original Cape Fear.
Yes, Cape Fear is very similar. And but the thing is, the fact that he's shooting it on his own property and that he's sleeping in his own bed, making his own coffee, and then just walking on set and doing it.
I get that. That's a very Burt Reynolds thing. And again, I'm not a super fan, but my impression of Reynolds when he's in his smirking, breaking the fourth wall, hanging out with his buddies on set kind of heyday, that he's a real lax movie star. He's just having a good time. Whereas The Maddening, even though he's going home every night and sleeping in his own bed, he's still bringing this really intense, crazy performance every single day. This does not seem to me like a Burt Reynolds performance.
Well,
not just because he's the villain, but because he's off the fucking.
He's good on this one. He's always good in bad movies. That's his thing. Like you could watch those Cannon movies, and there's like he was doing like one a year, and he's just knocking them out. Like, have you seen Heat?
Yeah, of course.
Written by William Goldman. I mean, he's actually good in certain scenes in that movie. The gambling scene in the middle is actually I mean, he feels like he's putting his heart and soul into that. And then the end of that movie is him doing Home Alone tricks and murdering fools on a construction site.
But is he shouting the name of his dead baby into his wife's face? That's the question.
He's the movie star who I would be most hard pressed to name a great film he's been in. I'm not sure he ever made a
Cannonball Run 2.
I mean, there's stuff that's like semi-tough is interesting. At Long Last Love is interesting, but I don't know if any of these are actually find their way to being a great movie.
Yeah, Sharky's Machine is fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. I've seen Stick. It turns out I'm a bigger Burt Reynolds fan than I thought. That's the one based on the Elmore Leonard, right? Stick.
Yes, Stick is pretty insane. That definitely a shot in Tampa. Definitely like him on his home turf. Yeah, he's a weird movie star.
I guess people love Boogie Nights. I guess some people would be like, "That's the great movie he was in." Although
he hated Boogie Nights.
Not for me. Hey man, I'm with Burt, man. You don't have to sell me on it.
But and also on Boogie Nights, he didn't like being not treated like the most important movie star in the room. That was the main tension between him and P.T. Anderson. And I think like on this movie in The Maddening, he's being, Burt, you're the king. You're giving me gold. Danny Huston's just like, I'm just happy to watch you do whatever, Burt. Like you're delivering. Like
I gotta say that there is something about this ramshackle quality of this that is what is appealing about it to me. That this is a movie that I think Burt Reynolds hopping out of bed, making his own coffee, going through his own fridge as they're doing the walkthrough for the day. There is something about the very ramshackle quality of this movie that is part of the appeal to me. That adding slickness to this movie obviously makes it more tasteless. If you try and do a good version of this movie, it just becomes more and more insanely tasteless, which is I feel like the shambles of it make the tastelessness of it appealing to me in some way. That its ramshackle quality allows it to not to both have an impact and not have an impact.
Well, exactly, because the slick version of this movie would be like a Gore Verbinski or a Neil Jordan.
No, I think it'd be like an A24 like takes itself too seriously elevated horror film. I think is the slick version of this movie you don't want it to be. You don't want the guy who made The Witch and The Lighthouse making this movie. He's like the last dude you want near it.
Well, they would be oppressively directing it. They would direct the shit out of it. They would be controlling everything, right?
Yeah.
That would be their thing. And then, but isn't there like the Ring remake by Gore Verbinski? Isn't that like, I could see an expensive version of this movie in the 90s, like a DreamWorks produced version, being dark and having really intense color palette and being,
you wouldn't see the decaying baby's corpse. You just wouldn't.
No, you would not.
You wouldn't see the little girl beating up the other one and leading her around by a leash and telling her to dig up the dead baby. All of that would be gone from this. The sort of depravity of this movie, which this movie is incredibly depraved, but I'm able to be lighthearted about it because of the low budgetness of it. It's like Spider Baby. It's horrifying, but the low budgetness of it gives it a charming quality to the horrifying qualities of it.
Plus, Danny Huston, I think, is encouraging every actor to do their thing. He's like, Burt, you want to do this? Push it. You want to feel this way? Like, keep pushing it. Angie Dickinson, I love how you look.
Yeah.
You want to do your makeup and hair that way?
I'm sure Josh Mostel picking up that sandwich and taking a bite was an improv, right?
Oh, yeah.
Those gas station attendants, he's encouraging them to come up with a fake Ozzy riff to do together. I think you're exactly right that every actor is being told I think that converse to what you're saying, every actor, when Burt isn't on set, being told you're the biggest movie star on set, if you're the most important person on this film, in all scenes. I unquestionably, the sister and Brian Vimmer were told that. I think that people were encouraged in some way to just workshop the hell out of their scenes and like, let's come up with something more interesting. Let's take this a little further. I think that's true, which is one of the things that gives it a unique flavor. If you watch a ton of exploitation films, most of them have no personality whatsoever. Most of them, nothing interesting happens in 90% of them. This movie is overburdened with too much personality at inappropriate times.
Most exploitation movies are just about getting through the day.
Yeah.
We have this many scenes, we have this much time, we have this much light. We got to get it done. And it's just like, let's just get through it. Okay. But you know who I think would be an interesting director for this movie would be Stuart Gordon, actually. Because I think like From Beyond has a similar kind of vibe of being in a house, working with a group of actors, having a dramatic kind of flair, not focusing so much on slick visuals, although I'm not to say that movie isn't slick looking, but like that kind of...
I think it taps into the Stuart Gordon a little bit.
Because it could be a play.
I think it makes me think of his lower budget films like King of the Ants, as an example, where you can see the seams, you can see the bad acting, but it's confidently made, and it has, Chris said, a lot of personality, just a lot of things going on where, it's stuff you want to laugh at, but at the same time, there's an incredible tension where you don't know where the little girl is. You don't know what he's capable of. And just anybody who just, happens to stop at a gas station and end up locked in somebody's house in the middle of the day. I love the progression of politeness, when she comes into the house and she's trying to just, okay, these people are a little bit weird, but I'm just,
it's very funny games.
I'm just waiting. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. Very sure. I love stuff like that. And I think that there's a craftsmanship to that. I think it could be a Stuart Gordon sort of craftsmanship attributed to
I think Stuart Gordon's movies, with the exception of Castle Freak, are all too fun. I think Stuart Gordon makes entertainments mainly. Yes. He doesn't make spiritually disturbing movies.
No.
Well, yes, you can
David
find
Mamet's. That's the David Mamet one?
Yeah. That's the William H. Macy Dark Night of the Soul one, which is a good movie. But that's, you very well know that Edmund is an outlier.
I know what you mean. But no, even King of the Ants, though, is a lot darker than you expect.
It has that Stuart Gordon feel, though, of like coming from a drama background, working with actors, really having actors push their character, and like having an ensemble kind of feel.
The absurdity of being locked in a room is a lot like Stephen Ray being stuck in the windshield and stuck, right? That kind of absurdity of, what are you doing? Why aren't you letting me out of here? I don't understand what's happening.
I like that so much of this movie is utterly humorless. I like that there's no leavening of it with knowing humor.
Well,
not even knowing.
They literally kill the comic
Josh
relief.
Well, no, I was getting ready to say there's two different movies here. The one that's from a different universe with Josh Mostel, anytime it cuts to Pastel World, that stuff has a bunch of comedic shit in it. That's fine. It is whatever. That's not the part of the movie I'm interested in. And I do like, I like that it's not doing what Hitchcock does in Strangers on a Train, of making the villain into a charming rascal that you root for just a little bit because he's having such a good time. It's not doing that with Roy Scudder at all. It's not trying to make that stuff fun or funny. And it's not even doing the psycho joke of when the car won't go down into the mud at first and you go, ah, and then it sinks, and that's kind of funny. That's a funny scene as much as it's a tense one.
There's no relief of tension in this movie.
Yeah.
There's the tension is never released. It just keeps upping the ante, and it kind of feels like you're suffocating.
I'm sorry. So the movie has tension, you're saying? Just checking.
Objection.
It's there's no release of tension.
It keeps upping the unpleasantness. I would say
take it back. Too much tension.
I don't find this movie tense. I find it unpleasant. And I think that there's an accumulation of unpleasantness to it.
it's also
that I adore.
It's that thing of like a slick thriller guy, director guy would just be like, let's just add a joke here. Let's just add a button here. This is too tense. Like they would, but they don't do that. They're not going for a formula.
I definitely appreciate a director who gets out of the way. Yeah. I mean, I think when you said Neil Jordan, that was another good observation. His horror films from the 90s, like Interview with the Vampire and In Dreams, have a slickness that is a detriment to the movie. When he has to kind of show a classy director thing, like having the statue with the eyes that move is a moment that I always think of as like, let me just move away from here to show you a cool thing that I thought of over here. And I think that The Maddening is good because it's not like that, because it doesn't have that distraction of, let me just point out that I had a really great idea on how to shoot this movie.
Let me ask you something. Do you think there's John Huston influence over this movie?
Yes, because I think John Huston, so somebody, if they weren't paying attention, his movies would dissolve like a water droplet on a sugar cube. And I think that this movie has that quality of the sugar cube did not get quite enough water on it to completely dissolve, but it sort of halfway dissolved. It's this malformed thing, this movie. That's what I really like about it. I think John Huston, similarly, you watch some of his movies and he just clearly stopped giving a shit at some point. I don't think John Huston rarely went into movies not giving a shit, but it's clear in a lot of them he would just give up in one way or the other.
I think it would be an interesting thing to take out Angie Dickinson and put in Susan Terrell, right, from his film,
of course. Well,
Fat City.
Maker, Nightmare Maker, right?
Right. That would be interesting to see if that would improve the movie or not, because I like Angie Dickinson's quieter performance in this, her own saddening, as it were. But I think that if you got someone really extreme like Susan Terrell in there to match Burt's already high level of craziness, that could be an interesting experience.
Or if you went super demure and put somebody like Shelley Duvall in that role,
of course.
Would also be. The problem is Angie Dickinson's just like, hey, I'm pretty. I'm a regular wife. Yeah.
Her glamorousness. Well, she's like, I'm a regular wife in a Florida condo. Like I should not be living in this like ramshackle house covered with weeping willows. I should not be wearing makeup every day and having a tan and wearing bright clothes. I feel like, if she had a little more of a shut-in vibe, that would
she doesn't
probably
look much
help.
like a Georgina.
Another
Burt
thing
Reynolds is the whole show. He's the whole show here. Anyway.
Of course. And watching this twice, there's one thing I was really missing, and I think it would really enhance the movie, which is talking about the two worlds. Burt Reynolds should be at the gas station for the second and third scene. He should interact with Brian Vimmer. He should interact with Josh Mostel because it's like being the gas station guy.
He's a big shot gas station owner. They don't just hang around running the day to day when you're a big time gas station owner. You know how those guys are.
But that's a gimme for a scene. Just have Burt Reynolds. First, he tricks Mia Sara to going, and then now he has to cover up the lie. He has to interact with her husband. He has to interact with the police.
Well, they do at the garage, but
they have it in the scene at the house. Yeah,
he's in the garage at his house. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to talk about the big climax.
Let me just say, I really appreciate watching this twice when you hated it the first time you watched it, William.
I watch bad movies.
It's a process of indoctrination, and he will submit after our 3-day The Maddening retreat being held in Poughkeepsie, New York basement.
Third time's a charm.
But that's the thing. It is undeniably an interesting movie. It's made by Danny Huston's father, Sean Huston. This is not lazy. Okay. It takes a lot of work to make a movie like this, and the work is kind of unfocused and kind of bizarre, but these are real.
It's a monument to inscrutability more than a lot of movies are. I watch a lot of bad exploitation movies, and you watch it and you have the impulse of like, what the hell was anybody thinking? How did that get made? And then you realize the answer is Some fucking producer thought it would make money. That's the answer to every question on this. You're right that this movie has so much personality to it that the answer of question of why did this movie end up like this isn't there was a producer who thought we're headed for the bank with this. That is not the answer to this question on this movie. It's much more inscrutable than that. It's a movie that really is like a monument to some fucking alien intelligence. You know what I mean? This thing is the monolith in the desert where you're like, I don't know what to do with this. I want to hit it with a bone, but it's going to transform my life.
I think it's also just trusting the people to make a movie. And like, as a producer, you're like, I'm giving you this money. You're going to deliver me a movie. Right. And it's that there is the feeling of watching this movie is the feeling of watching a horrible play that immediately goes off the rails, but you can't look away. And it's a very common feeling because I did UCB improv for years. So I've seen improv shows.
So you're familiar with cults.
Yes. And I have seen shows like there's this thing, a improv game called a mono scene. It's a half-hour scene. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what you have to do is you have to start
I'm out.
Yeah. You have to start very slow and build a foundation and not let it get too weird immediately. Right. And I've seen train wrecks that are horrible within, 3 lines and they're stuck and they can't fix it and they have to go with it. And I watched this one improv mono scene about the first Thanksgiving with pilgrims and Indians. And it's like it honestly made me quit improv because then I was like, because I realized I was like, I could just go to New Beverly and watch, at least I'll watch a shitty movie that is edited or is written.
Yeah.
I could just watch a shitty movie instead of watching a shitty improv show. So the feeling of a play off the rails and the actors are kind of left to their own devices is that's the feeling of The Maddening.
Can I ask you guys, he comes home, his wife has left, she's boiling his ties. Right before he notices the boiled ties, he says,
that's a joke.
It smells like a Chinese laundry in here. What the fuck does that mean?
See, that's like an old man thing. It's that like Joseph von Sternberg's autobiography, like things I did in a Chinese laundry or something. Like this is like a term. That's like a term from 100 years ago, right?
Sure, but what do they smell like? Boiled ties?
Well, she also says
it's one of those things. It's one of those things I don't understand anything about it except that it's racist. That's it.
Well, she said I can't leave the house right now because the house is upside down. And then you see what the house is like. It looks like a PA. They're like, yeah, we have 5 minutes. We got to make the house look messy. And he's just, okay, there's some cups on the counter. There's some canvases thrown over some doors. There's a ladder in the kitchen. There's just a ladder in the kitchen.
Well, they're clearly doing some remodeling. The house is upside down.
Right. Much like a Chinese laundry, every time you go into a Chinese laundry, there's
that smell.
Ties are boiling. That's the Chinese laundry, right? Much like, when you go to a Chinese laundry, this is probably something John Huston told Danny Huston. He's like, when you go to a Chinese laundry,
ties are boiling makes it sound like a genocide joke.
They just boil your clothes. They don't bother to actually wash your clothes,
Back then, everything smelled like a Chinese laundry. Dad would say it all the time.
My only real complaint, I have no complaints about this movie. I accept it how it is in my heart. My only complaint is that I despise seeing men in boxer shorts and neckties. This is something that I find more repulsive. It disgusts me more than anything in the world. And I didn't realize it till I was watching this movie and I saw that and I was like, I fucking hate this. I fucking hate when a guy is in boxer shorts with a necktie. It makes me want to puke.
Yeah. The husband, Brian Wimmer, he does this very contrived thing where he takes his shirt off, but leaves his tie on and then tries to seduce his wife, Mia Sara. And it's very uncomfortable to watch.
That stuff's weird. But then when he comes to rescue her and she's completely drugged and addled and he says, it's the tie, like shows her that he's wearing the tie is a nice moment, that he to bring her back into reality, to make her laugh a little bit in this horrible situation. So
I'm willing to bet
serves.
Henry Slezar came up with that touch.
Yeah, because it's like Janet Leigh hanging out at the beginning of Psycho, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Why doesn't he kill him when he throws him in the well? I think is what we all want to know. Why doesn't he do the Richard Boone thing from the Tall T, where they throw the whole family into the well?
He lands okay. He lands on his neck, so it's completely fine.
The set of the what? There's a when Brian Wimmer goes down into the well, the set is he's basically inside a 15-foot, slightly curved wall of a room. Like it looks like the world's biggest well that he's got thrown down inside of, and it's very bright. And he's able to stand, and he's able to climb up like Stallone and Cliffhanger.
Yeah,
he just crawls. He just climbs out.
That's the power of love, my man. I hope you experience it someday.
He doesn't even have a broken leg. He
does. He makes the splint with the duct tape and the tire iron and shit.
Oh yeah. Okay. You know what? Of course he has to.
He's gotten hit by he landed on his neck. He's gotten hit by the adrenaline. He's seen his daughter's doll. You need me to give you a roadmap? Of course he's climbing out of that well.
Speaking of which, is this not a movie that's secretly about a little girl learning to put away childish things, like the love of an imaginary friend transposed into a doll that at the end is ceremoniously dropped into the well?
I did think it was interesting that she had an imaginary friend, and then William Hickey is the imaginary friend of Burt Reynolds.
There you go.
It is. It's about a doll named Annabelle. So I think they should sue.
That was also interesting.
About a creepy doll named Annabelle.
That had to be, they must have known, right?
Who must have known? Annabelle's based on a real story.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. They must have named the doll
James
because
Wan?
they knew about. No. In the Maddening, they must have known about, what are their names?
The psychic, they have a name.
The Amityville couple.
The couple
Patrick Wilson
from The Conjuring. Yeah. Frank
Con
Stallone.
Artists, whatever their names are.
Frank and Mary Stallone. That's their name, right?
I'm going to go with the Richards. How's that sound?
Richards, yes. The beloved cinematic movie couple, the Richards.
Now describe the climax of this movie, because I think this is the highlight of the film. I think it is always great when a movie ends with its best scene. And I felt this was the best scene in the movie when Brian Wimmer makes his way to Mia Sara's bedroom. And
take it, John. Her. Describe it.
Makes his way to the bedroom.
She's tied
Reynolds has got everybody covered with the shotgun.
Right.
But what happens?
Shotgun and handgun. Right.
Right.
He has 6 because he has the handgun with 6 bullets.
But Angie Dickinson has to show up. And everything comes out, and we find out that he was in love with the sister and murdered the sister and her daughter. This is not just a case of a forgivable strangled baby. This is, in fact, multiple homicides. So he sees William Hickey in the wheelchair at the same time. Poor Angie Dickinson.
Angie Dickinson falls into the wheelchair.
Poor Georgina happens to come into the wheelchair, and he blows.
This is brutal.
Away.
He shoots her 6 times with
thinking she's William Hickey.
Yes.
He wants to be shooting William Hickey. He's trying to shoot the ghost.
His father. It's heavy shit.
Instead shoots his wife that he had cheated on or lusted in his heart after, her sister.
And anyone asking where's Chicky Ross at this point? Chicky Ross has had his throat cut from ear to ear. Doesn't happen in the book. He survives in the book.
Much like The Shining. It's very similar.
Exactly.
Chicky Ross, played by Josh Mostel.
Better than The Shining. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, go on.
Chicky Ross, played by Josh Mostel. I feel like we didn't get enough of him in this, but I feel like whenever he was on set, he's like, I could just take over this fucking movie. Like, I can be the most charismatic person in any scene I'm in.
It's funny. He plays it like he's Cary Grant. He plays it. No, he plays the scene like he's Bruce Willis for real. Like, I'm just coming in. I'm the most charming guy in here. I'm in control of every scene. And it's crazy to see him play the scenes like that. You think you cast him like a big fat goofy looking guy as the comic relief who's going to like, you know, and the script is written that way, like he eats a candy bar, you know, but he plays it like he's the coolest motherfucker in this movie. Like there's going to be a whole spinoff, like he's Benoit Blanc up in here, you know.
He's
and
like,
I think
he'll never get to play a cop, or he did play one more cop, I think, in another movie, but he's like, I'm going to play a cop and I'm going to play him really well, even though I should never play a cop. No one would cast me.
Good for him.
It's a great choice, and it's really fascinating to see. Again, it's like the movie's overload of personality. It's hard. I would not describe it as this great decision that the movie makes in order to be the best possible movie it can be. No, it's operating according to a different value system that's beyond my understanding, and that's one of the things that I think works good in it.
And I think that's another.
Go ahead.
Oh wait, I think that's another element of plays that are really bad, where you go like, oh, this one guy just has charisma and is just nailing it, even though the other person in the scene is kind of confused or.
I mean, plays are bad. I don't know what's theirs to be said in defense of them.
Another thing that I enjoy. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say another thing that I like that they go out of their way to set up is that their last name is Osborne, and that's why the gas station attendants remember them, because they love Ozzy. But when they decide to rock out Ozzy style, they obviously don't have like copyrights to the song, so it's just a generic sort of like guitar.
Well, they do like the first two notes of Iron Man, so you think they're like da-na, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and you're like, wait, what? You wanted me to think of Iron Man, and then you did. Even that was too close. What I did.
Yeah, those guys are great because there's no need to have two gas station attendants, because you notice one of them is just repeating the other one's lines.
What she said, where she was going, anything like that?
She was running late. That's why Mr. Scudder told her to take Old Highway 50 instead of the main highway.
That's right. It's a shortcut, you know.
You don't need a map. Go down here to, there's a sign that says Turkey Creek, and then you turn right.
Yeah, there's a little sign down there.
Don't take the driveway before. Just go.
Turkey Creek and go right. Turkey Creek and go right. Just take the sign. You'll see the railroad tracks.
And he's not saying anything differently, and he's not bringing anything else. It's like Danny Huston couldn't decide which actor to pick, and he's like, I like both these guys. Why don't we just have both of them be the character?
I did notice at least one of them used to be like a technician on John Huston movies. He's probably like good buddies with Danny. You know, I think it's probably why he's on the set.
He was a technician on John Huston. He was probably the guy who got John Huston his weed and was like friends with Danny Huston for that reason. Can I do any more speculative character assassination on this episode?
I think this movie invites it, you know, like they put themselves out there like this. This movie is like, it's like Kennedy driving down the main drag in Dallas with the top down. It's like, you guys are putting yourselves out there. You're just asking to be sniped, you know.
They're Kennedy in this scenario?
No, Mostel he's covered. He's like, I don't know what these people are doing, but I'm going to wear a cover. Burt Reynolds is really putting himself out there. I mean, they're not taking any precautions. What I'm trying to say is they're not considering what the world is going to do to them once they put this movie out there. Critics, audiences, their friends, their families, their agents, they must have all thought, how did this how did we let this happen? Burt, how did you let this happen to you? How did you end up here? You were king of the world. You were the number one movie star in the world.
I guarantee you can find in the 90s another Burt Reynolds starring movie that is even more of a what the fuck were you thinking with this movie?
You think so? He doesn't.
There's gotta be.
No, he just does stuff like, Mad Dog Time he's in, which is a much more what the fuck, who thought this would be a good idea. Talk about bad theater. Have you ever seen Mad Dog Time?
Sounds familiar.
It's just the worst. It's really, that is the worst movie you will ever say.
Right. Trigger happy.
I'm going through the list.
Larry Bishop.
I'm going through the list of movies you've done in your podcast, and I already see about 10 that are far worse than this. Murder by Numbers, Hideaway, give me a break. Lady Terminator,
Lady Terminator is fucking awesome.
Even like Rapid Fire is like fine. Rapid Fire is, if you go your whole life without seeing Rapid Fire, you'll be okay. RoboCop 2, this movie's better than RoboCop 2. Silent Night, Deadly Night. Come on, Santa Claus the movie, Ernest Saves Christmas. This is a completely nightmare.
I'll give you Santa Claus the movie.
Cop and a Half was your first episode. This is better than all of these movies.
Cop and a Half is very similar. You know the story of Cop and a Half, right? Like the co-star Ray Sharkey.
No, I do not know anything about Cop and a Half.
Have you seen Cop and a Half?
I saw it on an airplane. One of the first flights I took as a youngster, it was the in-flight movie before there were even like TV individual selection things.
John, have you seen Cop and a Half?
I've never seen it.
You guys.
Not even half of it.
You think the Maddening's nuts. Cop and a Half is just way more insane. Also directed by an actor, Henry Winkler.
Yeah.
Last Burt Reynolds starring studio movie. It's about a child who witnesses a murder by a mafia don.
Yeah.
And then becomes the witness, right? It's very similar to,
Witness.
Any other thriller. Yeah, it's Witness. We talk about that. Yes, it's Witness. So this guy who plays the mafia don, Ray Sharkey, I looked up this actor. I'm like, who is this actor? He seems weird. There's something about him I'm intrigued by. What happened to him? It turned out this guy, while Cop and a Half is being released, a story is out in the newspaper that he had sex with like 100 women while infected with HIV.
Oh, shit.
And it really puts a damper on Cop and a Half once you know that's going on. So
that ruined the movie for you.
You don't want to see Cop and a Half ever again, based on what you've just told me.
I'm just like laying on my sofa watching Cop and a Half, kind of looking at Wikipedia, like, who is this guy? He's funny. What else is he in? Oh, he had HIV. He had sex with hundreds of women. He's infected multiple women. And then I read every review.
No such news came out about William Hickey ever.
Let me just say, you watched Murder Rock, which is probably the worst movie I've ever seen.
I love it.
But you understand that it's terrible. The way you feel about Murder Rock is how you should feel about The Maddening.
But like I said, I'm a more visual person. Yeah. So I can watch that movie or any shitty 80s Fulci movie and just be like, oh, I'm into this. This has style.
Yeah, because every 15 minutes there's a semi-interesting shot. That's all it takes. It's not like Fulci's this dazzling stylist. It's like every once in a while, there's an unnecessarily complicated dolly shot in his films. And it'll be for like a dialogue scene. I don't find Fulci to be any kind of a stylist.
I'm very easy when it comes to that kind of style. I mean, that's the truth is with horror movie fans, we're very easy. We'll watch anything. We don't care. We'll just sit there and just be like, well, it is.
Look, I'll watch anything. And all it has to be is a movie for me to like it at the end of the day. I'm very hard on films, but I'm pretty sure I've enjoyed every single thing I've mentioned here with the exception of the Hitchcock movies.
Hitchcock is he's no Danny Huston.
It's true.
It's true.
Put that quote at the top of the episode. Absolutely.
North by Northwest is a very weird movie.
North by Northwest sucks. North by Northwest is a boredom bomb set off in unsuspecting audiences. North by Northwest is the package at the beginning of is it Sabotage, where the bus blows up at the beginning? They blow
Sabotage
up the kid
or
in the
Saboteur?
It's not Saboteur because that's the one Dorothy Parker wrote. It must be Sabotage, where they actually blow up the bus at the beginning. That is North by Northwest, is a boredom bomb slipped into an unsuspecting audience that blows them up at the beginning. North by Northwest, people see that, and it's the reason they think they don't like old movies, because someone told them North by Northwest is great, and they watch it, and they're like, fuck this, old movies are terrible.
Look, I just want to say, I saw North by Northwest at the Castro Theater in San Francisco, a big, giant one-screen theater.
I've been there. I saw American in Paris on that screen. Anyway, sorry.
But yes, it's I mean, it was it worked for me there more than it did at home. At home, North by Northwest is a 0. It doesn't work because it doesn't make any sense. Right?
Who's the villain? I defy you to tell me one thing about him.
Look, every reel is a set piece. That's the movie. That's the movie, right? It's just they go to a new set.
I was so shocked at the end of a Hitchcock movie. He's being chased and then he's hanging off of something. And then the authorities show up right before he's about to fall. Who would have thought a Hitchcock movie ended that way? Who would have seen that coming? What a twist.
But isn't that the power of Hitchcock? Is that you see the bomb under the table, you know it's going to go off. And then the audience is just like, oh, if the bomb's going to go off.
The bomb is Roy Scooter.
Yeah. And that's but that's like what most thriller directors do, right? They just
what I would say is if you have to describe The Maddening, it's the bomb that went off. You know what I'm saying?
The bomb is Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds is the bomb. He's going to go off, and he goes off.
I was speaking more of its total box office and theatrical and DTV failure.
I read on
this
Wikipedia.
Movie went off.
Wikipedia says it made $5,000 at the box office, which is pretty decent.
Who do you think got that check? Who do you think that check for $5,000 was did? That had to go directly into some like processing places account. That went to some accountant who was like, I never got fucking paid. It just went straight to that guy.
It went to the gas station attendant.
Look, when you make art, you're not always trying to make money. Okay. You're putting yourself out there. Millions of dollars are invested in a film like this, and you get $5,000. That's pretty decent.
It's true.
You divide that up, everybody gets a pack of smokes, and that's just kind of how it worked out.
Mia Sara's got to go marry a rich guy. This movie's made so little money, I had to marry, this fail son layabout.
It's like The Killing. It's like they're like, we're going to make a movie. This is the plan. You're going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then at the end, all the money just gets blown away. It's just all the money's gone. And they're like, no one gets any money. We're fucked.
Joss Mostel is in this movie. He's in Billy Madison. This movie is not the lowest grossing Happy Madison film ever made, for the records.
What is?
Larson, Born to be a Star.
Bucky Larson. Well, that's a special film. I haven't seen it, but I can tell it's special. So wait, we still haven't
seen it.
We still haven't talked about the absolute best moment of the movie, which is the death of Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
He is finally shot, not by Josh Wimmer, but by Mia Sara. And that's a great...
Engulfed in flames. She whips up the gun in slow motion. It's a legitimately beautiful shot. Not out of place in a Fulci movie.
Kind of like Thriller, Cruel Picture. This is a rape revenge film.
It's not super slow-mo.
This is a rape revenge film.
It is. It is kind of. It's more like a trauma permeates every aspect of its pores. The pores of this movie open like mouths and the tongue of trauma hangs out.
She shoots Burt Reynolds with a shotgun, and there's an amazing shot of him flying out the window with the wheelchair behind him, and the visible strings are pulling them all out the window. And you then see a dummy fall, and then you see Burt Reynolds.
You're misinterpreting it. Those are ghost strings. You're supposed to see them.
It reminded me of Stalker. I thought I can see the string on the glass pulling it. This is
very Tarkovsky-esque, that shot.
Another little psychic monkey. Is that? There you go.
I would say this is not a rape revenge movie.
No. But there is rape and revenge.
This is a getting grabbed by the ankle and pulled into the quicksand of this family unit that is just going straight down to hell, and you can't untangle yourself from it. I think one great thing that makes Burt Reynolds and his performance so interesting is that we never know what Roy Scudder wants. First it seems like he's kidnapping them for Angie Dickinson to have them around, so she believes that her sister is alive and has returned to them. He's just trying to normalize the family unit. But then later on, he's clearly into her. He clearly is putting his feelings for the sister, onto her, and he wants her. But the father is, giving him a hard time. He's so mixed up this entire movie. So even though when he, has to step up and say, oh, I've never seen, I have no idea what they, where he has to cover his tracks. He's very smart, but in general, when he is behind the doors inside this house, he's just he's hugely fucked up. He doesn't know what the hell he wants to do.
Is. I mean, I was making a joke, but it does remind me of Fernando Rey and Viridiana, or the old man in Diary of a Chambermaid, where you get behind the walls of this house where you're sort of a prisoner, and you're subject to the deranged whims of the patriarch that are very inscrutable, that he keeps very close to his chest, and his sort of perverse desires that he himself is sort of twisting up when he's expressing them in any way.
Or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where it's like you're locked inside of this family situation.
Yeah.
You got to get out of the house. It's just
or like,
you got to escape this situation.
Secret Ceremony, the Joseph Losey movie. Did you ever see that?
I've never seen it.
Very it's like one of those psychological horror films, a lot of incest. 3 people trapped in a mansion, Robert Mitchum, Elizabeth Taylor, Mia Farrow. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of a throwback to an older, more literary psychological thriller.
Yeah. It's Gothic. Yeah, it's very traditional Gothic. Very traditional. It's Gothic in a lot of ways.
Very traditional.
I revert the very traditional aspect of it.
Very traditional with a Burt Reynolds 90s twist. So what would you guys...
And a horror's 90s twist, too. I think, the gas station lore, which is not from the book, it's invented for the movie, is almost taken directly from Leatherface, the third Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. That kind of snare, of the friendly guy at the gas station. I guess that's from the original, too, but it turns out that he's, part of this family.
Yeah.
So, like... You guys don't normally give ratings, but what would you give this movie on a 5-star rating? Because that's something we do at the end of our show.
I would say that I'm not going to give stars. I don't give ordinal rankings to it. I think it's immoral. But I will say that there's nothing better than a big old moon pie, except for The Maddening. That's my rating. Rotten Tomatoes converted to stars.
How many moon pies would you give it, though, is the question.
Yeah.
I on a scale of 16 moon pies, I would give it 1 order of magnitude above 16, whatever that might be.
It's off the charts.
It's a little bit like eating 16 moon pies in one sitting.
Well, exactly. Well, that's John saying you eat too many moon pies, you start to get sick. I'm not sure that's even positive rating. Do you want to be eating what would an order of magnitude on 16 be? I guess it'd have to be something like 48. 48 moon pies, you don't want to eat that.
That's up there. That's the highest rating of anything that has ever been on the show.
Except it'll make you sick and it'll kill you. You'll die from that. Don't do it. Don't watch The Maddening. You don't want to die. You don't want to have your worldview broken. Stay away from the. This is my 5-star thumbs down review of The Maddening. I give it 100% for 0% of the audiences.
Different question. At what date do you show this movie to a potential boyfriend or girlfriend? Is this a first date?
First date.
Is it Mia Sara I'm going on the date with?
You're taking Mia Sara. Mia Sara has been her husband.
That's date 1. You go, I'm a really big fan. Let me show you something special, Mia. I just need to use your phone. No, Mia, I have something very special to show you. Phone's right here. And then she grabs the phone and tries to use it as The Maddening comes on in the background. And she knows she's never back into the Cookie Master's arms ever again.
I would love to know what you thought.
Mia Sara would be my mixtape of her nude scene from the setup, just on a loop. You what a big fan I am?
No, John. At what point on this date? Wait, John.
One scene.
You've been with your wife fucking forever, John, right? At what point would you? Has Jordy seen this? Have you convinced Jordy to see it?
The sex tape?
Oh,
of course, she's seen the sex tape. She's well aware of everything you've jerked.
She hasn't seen The Maddening, and that's kind of funny because she is a big V.C. Andrews fan. She's read all the V.C. Andrews ones written actually by her. I don't think she's read any of the ones written by Niederman.
Yeah, I didn't show this to my girlfriend. Her tolerance for my movie picks has really been eroded. I took her to see Barry Lyndon Stalker. That was
strike one. Barry Lyndon, strike one.
She liked Sorcerer. That was the one movie she really liked that I took her to.
So she's got good taste.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, she likes Tangerine Dream. She doesn't like boring movies.
Why isn't she hosting the podcast? No, I'm just joking. Just joking.
She would have no tolerance for you two.
I can imagine.
Surprised.
There's a lot of flavor in this soup.
I like the Maddening so much that my rating system is actually based on it. Like I would give something 3 out of 5 Maddenings, when I'm talking about a regular movie. When I went to do this, when Chris suggested we do this movie and talk to you about it, I went to Google and I typed and Maddening came up automatically. That's how much I love this movie. But let me ask you, William, I saw on Letterboxd you gave this movie a 0.5 star.
Yes.
Have we convinced you to rise that up to 1 star at all? Or are you it's a 0 now?
I was almost about to raise it to 1 star last night after the second viewing, but I wanted to write the review even worse the second time as a joke. And the problem with the Letterboxd is you become performative, you become dishonest, you start playing it up for the audience. But truthfully, yeah, this is a 1 star movie, guys.
I've never been.
That's a win.
I've never been on Letterboxd. I don't understand what it is when people describe it. I can't figure out what it is.
It's not that complicated.
What is it?
They've turned movies into a video game, and you're getting achievement points for watching. Not achievement, but you're like you're tracking what movies you're watching.
It's just like IMDb reviews, right? On movies, like where people write the comments below the movie. You do that.
But there's a second element to it that is interesting, which is all of these movie fans who log their movies, rate their movies. It creates this AI hive mind where then you can click on an actor or director, and then you can see their most popular movie or their highest rated movie. And you can kind of get a sense of what your friends are watching. And it's like, when I see a movie like this.
Do you like friend people? Like it's a Facebook, you friend people to talk about like
like film Twitter. It's like the same. It's the same people. It's film Twitter basically. And so when I see a movie like this, where
get us on there, Cribs.
You should. The Pink Smoke should be on there. And also your people should be listening to your podcast, which is, I think, very good. You do kind of threw me in a loop for a little bit when I didn't know that the episodes were purposely out of order. And it's not that they're purposely out of order. We had a bunch that were behind Patreon paywalls, and I occasionally release them because, when you put it for the Patreon paywall, like 30 people listen to the episode. So it's like we did all this fucking work. So I like randomly release them when we don't have new episodes or when whatever. There's no real rhyme or reason to when I release them, So they just are sort of out of order with that. But also, you have your website, pinksmoke.com.
Yes.
Which I've been reading.
Can I ask you, the movie I originally suggested for this podcast, which I don't know why I came off of it. Oh, because John was going to be on. And I wanted to do The Maddening, which he and I love and never have any opportunity to talk about. But the first movie I wanted to do was Landscape Suicide, because my instinct was to do something, having listened to your show, that I really felt like your co-hosts would despise. Would you have preferred if we had done Landscape Suicide? Have you seen it? Did you watch it in the interim?
This. I've never seen this. I didn't watch it. But it looked interesting. What I appreciate about Landscape Suicide and The Maddening is they were both movies I had never heard of. And I think a big component of this podcast is me throwing out movies that the other two guys have never seen. And I think there's it's interesting when it's someone seeing something for the first time and someone having seen something multiple times. But
I will say this movie is connected to your guys' I believe it was your last episode, right? Was the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood episode?
But yes, Burt Reynolds was supposed to be in that.
Oh, was he supposed to be in it? I just know he was on the tribute page of the novelization that just came out. He's one of the people who he said he dedicated the book to.
He was going to play the George Spahn role originally.
Oh, okay.
But what's funny is the last...
John, you say that like you saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I've seen it.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
What movie did we do last? I can't even remember.
I was going to say there's a connection to Youngblood. That was because I haven't heard the new episode.
Well, I did The Punisher. I felt like there was a connection to The Punisher 89. That's the last one we recorded. So I don't know. I think it was just being
I think that they had wanted Lou Gossett Jr. to play Roy Scudder originally.
I think that actually The Punisher 89 and The Maddening are unfun experiences in a very similar way. Is that a fair description of them? They are both sort of brutally unfun movies. That's what I want to emphasize about The Maddening is don't think you're in for a fun time when you go to watch it. It is not a fun time at the movies, which is what I like about it.
Honestly, you think about the ending where Burt Reynolds is shot out the window. I mean, I might raise it to 1.5 stars because if I had seen this with an audience, I think that ending would kill. I think it would be I would love to see The Maddening with a sold out crowd. I think it would do very well with a crowd because have you guys only seen it by yourself or with friends?
I've only seen it by myself and with Mr. John Cribbs. But that's as big of an audience as I see anything with. Holding hands with JB.
I watched Cockfighter last night.
That's a great movie.
It crushed with an audience.
I can imagine.
That's awesome. That was the one thing I got to ask Jonathan Demme about. Chris used to work closely with Jonathan Demme. The only time I got to talk to him was I got to ask him about Cockfighter.
Oh yeah, what's his connection?
I thought he might have a connection because Roger Corman, of course, was behind Cockfighter, and then Demme ended up producing Miami Blues, which is also based on a Charles Willeford book.
Right.
So I just wanted to know if there was any kind of connection, if he, having worked for Corman, became aware of Willeford through him, or there was anything, but no connection apparently. But I just thought it was an interesting thing to bring up.
Fred Ward wanted Demme to direct Miami Blues, and he said, "I won't do that, but you should have my good friend George do it." So that's how Armitage got brought on to Miami Blues.
Interesting.
And he also said, "Oh, and by the way, I read the script. There's an actor you absolutely must cast as Fred Fringer that I just did in Married to the Mob. This guy, Alec Baldwin. You should absolutely cast him for real." And Gene Hackman Fred Ward was supposed to be playing the Fringer role, and Gene Hackman was supposed to be playing the Hoke Mosley role. And Fred Ward was like, "You're absolutely right. He's so good," that they asked Gene Hackman to step away from the movie, and he did graciously.
Well, he's a pro. I would love to see Gene Hackman in a movie like The Maddening. It's a shame he's decided to retire gracefully when he could be
leaving on the high note of "Welcome to Mooseport." Where is there to go? Where is there to go after that? You've done it all once you've battled Ray Romano and bested him.
Found himself too challenged being the Admiral in what the fuck is that Owen Wilson movie? Behind Enemy Lines.
Oh yeah. But he's always good.
He went toe to toe with Romano and was like, "I just don't got it anymore. I'm getting blown off the screen by this guy."
Who would you say is who would be in The Maddening now? I was thinking Bruce Willis I know he would never, I wish he would do movies like this, but he sticks to these straight to video action movies.
Yeah, they're kind of like sad reflections of his old career. I don't think he would let himself, do a film like this.
I'll tell you who I 1000% do not want doing it is Nicolas Cage. That is the person I don't want seeing doing.
But he would do it.
Roy Scudder. He would absolutely do it, and people would go bananas, and they would just love the Nick Cage version of The Maddening. And I love Nick Cage in a lot of things. I actually am as on board with Nick Cage as anybody is. I love him in Color Out of Space. But that I don't want this movie getting Mandy-ified is what I don't want from The Maddening.
This is a left field choice. Tom Hulce, maybe?
Ooh.
I'd watch that. Tom Hulce from Amadeus. Yeah, that would be interesting. But I mean, what has he been up to? What was the last thing you saw?
They don't make traditionally masculine movie stars like Burt Reynolds anymore. And even when Burt Reynolds was around, he and Eastwood were like two of the last straight up man's man kind of movie stars. And it's hard to imagine somebody who's crested and headed out of their peak from the past 20 years who was a big time movie star, because they're not they don't operate according to the old school masculine ideal that drives so much of the fear and intensity and uncomfortableness of Roy Scudder. That's just not how masculinity functions anymore, especially in Hollywood.
Plus, they don't have the acting chops of Clint Eastwood or Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
Where it's masculine and they actually can act and be movie stars.
Exactly. You couldn't do it with Charles Bronson, who is a great movie star, but not much of an actor.
You know who I could see in a movie like this is Denzel Washington.
Yes. That's the best choice.
Good choice. Yeah.
I think he's kind of at that stage where this is the kind of insane movie he should be looking out for, but he would never do it. He's too careful.
Yeah. And you know who else could actually also do it is Samuel L. Jackson could do it, I think, too.
And would do it, maybe.
And would do it.
Although they got him doing Marvel movies all the time now.
Oh, but you know what made me think of it is, this is similar to Black Snake Moan.
I think it's like Futeris.
Neil LaBute would be a good director for a movie like this.
Sure. I think
if you want it to be bizarre, I mean, he would make it bizarre. He's kind of.
I would have said that. I feel like I would have said that when I heard he was going to remake The Wicker Man, though.
Right.
Good choice. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think Denzel Washington with Neil LaBute is better than any suggestions I have for it.
All right. Well, I guess that kind of wraps everything up. But thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Very entertaining. I'm glad I can spread the word of the Maddening out there for you.
Good.
Thanks for bumping it up to 15 viewers on Letterboxd or whatever it's at currently.
We got to get these numbers up. I'm going to put some clips. I'm definitely going to clip the moment of the ending. The Burt Reynolds out the window. I mean, that is hilarious.
Any of the William Hickey scenes are very, very easy to get people into this movie.
Imagine just like scrolling through Twitter at like 7:45 a.m. and just seeing William Hickey just like encouraging Burt Reynolds to
good boy.
Yeah. He's really the best supporting actor of the movie, more so than Josh Mostel. Like he really, I mean, imagine William Hickey being rolled on to the set, because I'm assuming he is in a wheelchair at this point, and just nailing it. And
like Chris said, he's not that old at the point, he always looks decrepit.
He's like 62. Yeah, I think he's like 62 when they made this movie. He's old, but he's like 10 years younger than my parents, who are far from wheelchair bound.
Well, I hope they're nothing like him in this movie.
They definitely harass me when I'm fucking. There's no question about that. Maybe that's why I identify with this film so much.
The perfect thing to go out on is that line.
Yeah.